Good morning, Jennifer Brown. How are you?
Good morning, Genty Grace. I am good. How are you?
Well, it's just another day in our COVID summer, if you will.
If you will, late August. Yes, indeed. It's speeding along towards winter and all the uncertainty of that. That's fun to consider.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how our videos progress because I was going back as I was sending Olga some links to say like, hey, here's some things that we've done. You can totally see our mental health progression from the start to now. And like it's been like the ups and downs, but I feel like we're just being truthful and accurate for everyone else to perhaps benefit from. Who knows?
Definitely. That's that we are living in this age of truth telling and transparency and vulnerability, which we talk about a lot, and being real with each other, which I think is so good. Like it's such a leap forward for all of us to bring our full selves or more of ourselves to things that are happening. And frankly, it's because we can't hide a lot anymore, strangely, even though we're sort of virtually distanced from each other. There's this certain level of honesty too that I think is being generated that I think is actually paradoxically bringing us closer to each other and building more empathy. So I hope that doesn't go away.
Yeah, I don't want to lose that. I've been saying that since the start, and I still feel really strong about it. And I know, and it's like it's giving people opportunities to be on video that maybe they wouldn't necessarily have had opportunities for, or there's so many more people producing content, so you're grabbing different people outside of your I was gonna say native network, but that's not really what I mean. But like, the people that and you're like, yes, let me grab this person and talk to this person. Like now it's like widening the opportunities for everybody, which I think is really awesome. So
yeah, I so agree. My network has like exploded. It's true that, and the access to people too, like people say yes now, so much more easily. There's no planning time that you need as much as we used to have for physical events or every sort of, deliverable for our businesses. We're all business owners. So it's like we actually can be more productive in a way. And our output is different. And I would say more in some ways. We have to be careful of burnout and all those other things that come along with that, of course.
Yeah, I already started up and down that hump earlier this year.
Yes.
I'm back in like a plateau, which is
I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. We don't want to lose you.
I'm out of the slump. But I am really happy today with our guest, Olga Fernandez, who is a dear friend of mine. We're both local here in Connecticut. And Olga, when I was telling Jenn about you, I was like, Olga is one of the most brilliant people that I know. And I genuinely mean that, as much as you're going to cringe over the thought of me saying that. I know. So you're just such a good, I was going to say a good branding person, but it's not just branding. Like you surface in that sphere. So if somebody wanted to put you in a bucket, they could put you in a multitude of different buckets. But before we started recording, we were talking about just this whole concept of making a different sound within your business, which also pivots into your recent rebrand of your company called Sheep Don't Bark, which I think that's a brilliant name for a company. So why don't you just, even wherever you feel comfortable, but just tell us a little bit about the origin of Sheep Don't Bark. How did that even come to be? Because I feel like that's such an easy thing for people to get.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. Well, years ago, I started a business, and it was called the Idea Factory. And the Idea Factory is still around. But it was many years ago, actually. It was ironic how like sometimes the things we say at one point in our life and then we sort of forget, and then it comes back around again, and there it is, right? And so we were having a meeting internally at the Idea Factory about a client, and I was just really frustrated, trying to, get through to them and, wanting the best for them. And we were doing this big marketing campaign, and, it was like, wanting to bring out the specialties of the client or whatever, but I just remember feeling a lot of consternation because I really care. And, I really want things to I always have this ideal in my head of what it could be for the clients and, trying to get everything perfect all the time, which is ridiculous. But, I learned excellence is better than perfection. And it was in a moment of frustration. I'm like, well, geez, we just, sheep don't bark. It's always the barking dog that gets the attention. We need to just make them the barking dog, and we all laughed. And it was a soundbite that I wrote down on a piece of paper. Fast forward, I'm going to say maybe 12 years. And we reached a point where we couldn't own the Idea Factory as a unique URL, now the advent of so much, in the web. And so we were trying to come up with a different name, and we spent 6 months going through all these ridiculous versions of all these different names. And I was like, wait a minute, it was true then, it's true now, it's going to be true forever. Sheep don't bark. That's it. It's always the barking dog. The tagline is make a different sound. Let's just do this. And that was it. It was really as simple as that. It's not a sexy story, but it just came from the truth. And that's really what our whole platform is at Sheep Don't Bark. It's working with clients. We have a very deliberate, intentional process that we take clients through. It's not, it's not tedious. It's exciting. It's fun. It's great. But it's very self-revealing. It starts with little surveys, and then it's a lot of just, collective communal conversations for them to really discover what truly sets them apart in the marketplace and allows them to then see themselves differently, understand what their unique purpose is, and what that unique spot in the marketplace is that they can claim. And they can very quickly, and we use a lot of data sources to pinpoint where the opportunity spaces are for them. We factor all that in, and very quickly, once they know, again, what truly sets them apart, where their sweet spot is, who their ideal customer is, and then we're factoring that into their content and their storytelling, and their story is making a different sound, they can very quickly dramatically improve their ranking. And, from there, it all starts to come together. And that's really what excites me, because I've always been, I have this uncanny thing that I can just do. I know it sounds all woo-woo, but it's true. I can just look at any person when I'm interacting with him or her and, just having conversation, or walk into an organization, and I just see, there's always there's what you see, and then there's what it really is and what it really can be. And I guess I just have a really trained eye and ear at this point in time. I can see it. And I love that, because then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And then when I get my client on board, or my prospect, move them into a client situation where they're on board and I get them excited about that, and then they trust us to go through the process to actually see that manifest and to actually hear their different sound and watch their different stories evolve and emerge, is that's so satisfaction. I mean, it's so much satisfaction there, because, they're proud, they're encouraged, their confidence goes up, their excitement goes up. Talk about unifying, all their employees, re-energizing the culture, everything. I mean, it sounds like nirvana, but maybe from a new business development perspective, it can be for some clients. It can be the shot in the arm, and that's really what we are up to. And we're looking for clients who want to get to the next level, want to take it a little bit higher, want to tune the knobs a little differently so that they can maybe get more of what they really, really want in the world.
I love all of that. And I don't know this for certain, but I'm going to go out on a limb and just say, from your kind of, I don't want to say a sales perspective, because it's not you're definitely not a transactional, none of us are transactional people when it comes to sales. But do you really take that very consultative approach when you're just doing that initial call with a potential client, where they just kind of ramble out, here's the different things that I'm struggling with, and then you're able to kind of see with perfect clarity into exactly what they need? And then do you really just kind of give that information that's coming to you in the moment when you're doing that type of process? Because I know some people, like, they'll know all of the things to say, but then they hold back because they want to lure that person in to work with them. And that's not my approach, but I'm just curious if that's kind of how you approach it when you're talking to somebody who could be a client.
Well, it's funny because internally for years, we've kind of, some of my colleagues and associates and partners, we've always sort of had the family discussion, like, why are you telling them everything? I can't help it. I believe in developing relationship. I can tell you that there's no way I would have been able to stay in business for as long as I've been without really and truly liking my clients and developing great relationships. I truly like people. I'm truly genuinely interested in them, interested in their stories, very interested in their challenges, because I feel badly if somebody is really working in earnest and trying really hard and the gears aren't clicking. I want to hear about that. I want to know about that. In my personal life, which I do bring to my business, but I'm sort of a 911 rescue person. I am even a state licensed EMT because that is like in my DNA, is to kind of come to somebody's rescue. And I'm not saying I rescue businesses, but what I'm saying is I want to hear it all. And so, yeah, like when we're in a conversation, that's what I'm ferreting out. I want to know what's making things great now. In a first conversation, I'll say what's fabulous today? What's gorgeous in your life? What's really showing up that's wonderful? And what's exciting you the most right now? And then when they start talking about it, I'll even ask them, what would you, are there areas you'd really like to be? Are there any challenges, things that, little roadblocks? And then I take really full attention of that. I just had a call a week and a half ago with who I hope will become a client, a fabulous, fabulous company, one of the partners who I really respect. And he just talked a lot about some of their challenges. And I literally wrote down on a piece of paper verbatim everything he said. And we talked about it. And I started already giving him some ideas. And you know what? It wasn't just for bait to try to lure him in. If it does, great. And I'm talking with him later today, and I'm hopeful that the conversation will advance. But even if it just gives him a glimmer of an idea so that he can move forward and improve, that's great too. I'm really just here to help companies get to that next level and really discover what, again, truly makes them unique and special and move forward into that future. It really can be that simple. So no, long answer to your question. I don't hold back. I believe in having truthful conversations right out of the gate because you know what? That's the basis of the relationship, and that's what I do is build relationships.
Yeah, I assumed such, which is why I asked. Jenn, you're the same way in terms of your approach, and so am I. And I think it just, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of benefit to doing it that way.
We're all people. We're all in this together. Mm-hmm. It's let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? Just talk about it. It's just a conversation and wow, the places we can go, right? There's a Dr. Seuss book here somewhere, but the places we can go in conversation are amazing.
Yeah. So, I love being a consultant, I'll never forget. And I'm curious, when you realize that moment that you could get your expertise utilized, because I think that's a really big threshold for people. And they ask me about it all the time, people I mentor, what was that moment that you kind of realize that you're a problem solver and that you belong at that table and that you have something of value that doesn't exist on paper or whatever. It's something you made up. It's your process. It's your relationship building. It's the way you listen. It's the way you pull things out of people and kind of reshape them and give them back. But it's all kind of vaporware in a way. And yet people pay a lot of money for expertise. It's honestly, it's a product, but it's this intangible thing. And I think, I know I always refer people to a book. One of my favorite books is called Flawless Consulting by Peter Block. I don't know if either one of you has read it, but it was the first time I remember reading a book that gave me permission to get my expertise utilized, to sit in that room with a blank piece of paper and say, I'm enough right now, that I have enough that is this intangible piece that somebody's going to pay me for what I think and what I'm guiding them to do. And, I think that's a really big threshold for business owners to sort of step into that. And then, of course, we step into someday, if we want to be an author and a thought leader, and get comfortable being called somebody who's an expert, right? Even though we all on this call are really humble. And I'm sure that we sort of bristle at the expert word because it's a constant learning process and it's not something that's a destination that you've arrived at. But I'm curious, Olga, what was that? I'm thinking about aspiring consultants and business owners who sell ideas, right? And we have a lot of those. So taking us back to when you first realized I belong here, I can help, people will pay me for this, it's real, and I'm onto something, and I'm gonna travel the road and commit.
Wow, that's really interesting. It was funny as you were talking, I flashed back, and I guess it is the answer to the question that you're asking, which is a great question, by the way. You're very good at that.
I do that a lot.
I remember when I first started in this business of marketing and so when I first officially started in this business, I was working for a boutique design firm, small agency. And in those days, people carried portfolios, and we would go into, prospective clients, and we would pitch by showing portfolios of, past campaigns, and there were big boards and everything. And the portfolio that I was supposed to carry around probably weighed about 25% of my body weight. It was this big, hard, because our boards were beautiful. The work was amazing from this agency. But the portfolio was it was hard case. It was really big. It was like the size of 3 bass guitar cases all in one. And sometimes it was like a hassle even getting in and out of elevators. It was crazy. And after about 3 months, I'm like, screw that, man. I can't lug that thing around. It didn't even fit in my Toyota. So I'm like, I'm not bringing the portfolio. I'm not. Here's what I'm going to bring. I'm just going to bring this with a piece of paper inside, and this, and more importantly, I'm going to bring this. And because I couldn't lift the portfolio. So I would just go into meetings, and I would just sit there, and I would say, so tell me what you want to achieve, and tell me why you should achieve it. What's magic about your company? Tell me the magic. I didn't know what else to say. I had no vocabulary. And they would tell me all this stuff. And because I'm an only child, raised with all my family was so much older, so I never really had a voice at the table. I would just sit there and listen. I was really good at listening and taking notes. And I did this for a while, and I got orders, and I got clients. And then I remember one day, one of my clients brought me into a meeting on a project, and we were all sitting around in this big conference room, and I'm, doing my note taking and stuff. And somebody said something, and I had an idea, because I did that thing where I could see, right? And I swear to God, they were talking, and I had the idea, and I just took a breath, and I didn't realize that it was audible, but I just went and the whole room stopped. And my client said, let her speak. She has an idea.
Wow.
And I was like, ugh. And so I did, and I said it, and everyone listened. And it was the start of this spark for this campaign. And I was like, hot doggies. I think I can actually do this and get paid.
I love that.
That was the moment. And it was great. And of course that, you don't have, there are other times where you struggle, in meetings to get your point across and everything. But that was a really great moment for me. And it was transformative. And I try to, I still do all the same stuff. I don't carry a portfolio. I take really great notes. I listen, and I care.
That pretty much sums it up, right, Jen? I think that's why our customers come to the three of us, is that to feel heard and acknowledged, but also to kind of, crawl around in our brain a little bit, and say well, how would you solve this problem? Or what are you seeing that we're not seeing? When you're so close to it, it's hard to step apart. And we have the benefit of each of us seeing across so many different authors in your case, Jenn, brands and companies in your case, Olga, for me as well. So when I walk in the room, I have all of that as well to sort of say, well, here's where I saw this work, or here's, it's that sort of institutional knowledge too, that, that's when I mentor people too, I say, like, the more exposure you have to how this was done in different places, that's your currency, really, because it's the synthesis, it's the patterns that you notice when you look at so much data, and it's your analysis of those patterns that is the valuable thing. And then it's the innovation that we're able to do in the moment, probably too. I'm a lot like that too, Olga, where, like, that moment really, sometimes I wish I write down everything they say, but I'm also like, somebody needs to take notes about what I'm saying, because it's all coming out of my mouth and I'm not going to remember it.
Exactly. Sometimes when we do internal meetings, we used to record it because, right, you're just in flow talking, but like something you're saying is really important that I want to say too, is that, we're all about make a different sound. We're all about helping clients realize what their, true differentiation really is. And it's always there. Sometimes they just, they're just busy doing it, right? They're not realizing that they're being it. And so it's like shining the mirror up so they recognize their beingness, that they are being different, and then capitalizing on that. But I really believe, like, every single company has a point of differentiation. Every company can transform something about their business or how they speak to their market so that they do make a different sound. And it really doesn't matter if they are in a commodity business. They can differentiate themselves even in a commodity business, or in a slow or low economy. It doesn't matter. Again, it just, if you have something of value to say, and if you say it in a compelling way, people will listen. And if your product or service does deliver that unique value and potentially solve someone's problem in a unique way, but truly solves their problem, people will buy the solution. So that's what I try to, a lot of clients, they go, well, yeah, all that branding stuff is fine for big companies, but we don't have like the budgets like Nike or all the great brands. Well, you don't always have to have those enormous budgets. You just need to, like, dig down a little deeper, right? And be bold.
I love all of what you're saying. And I also think that, and I know we're already kind of at the top of our time, but the other piece, I think, is just kind of around generosity. And like generosity with your knowledge. And I know that's often a word that's attributed to just my approach in general. But Olga, I know that you come from that place of generosity too. And I just remember when I was debating between two book covers, and we were at dinner, and I showed her, and it was like without hesitation, it was like within milliseconds, it's like, it's this one, and you need to do this, this, and this to make it perfect. And it was like done and done. I'm like, all right, you're the visual eye. Like I literally didn't ask another person after that conversation. I was like, that's the one, and I went with it.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, it's just kind of nice to have people in your life that kind of operate that way, whether you're formally doing business with somebody, or if it's just a friend, or if it's a friend of a friend, or it's someone you network with, whatever the configuration might be. It's just nice to have people who are generous with the stuff that they know, that can help you from going down some path that may not be the right path for you to have gone down. And I think all three of us kind of do that well, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like, I see you. I see your potential. I know what it should be, and that's what happened that night. I remember that moment in the restaurant. It was like, oh, not that one, this one. It was like, and that's how it happens with clients, and that's, I love that. That's what keeps me vibrant, is having the opportunity to see people and to have them see it. And then when it all comes together, it's amazing.
Oh, it's good stuff. This has been such an awesome conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Olga.
Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy that we carved out the time for this. Jenn, I believe you and I are taking next week off, and then we are back from the last week of August through the end of September that we already have scheduled. So that's exciting.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Getting ahead of ourselves, which is great.
Which is good.
Yeah. So Olga, before we actually wrap up, can you tell people how to get in touch with you?
Sure, they can go to our website, which is sheepdon'tbark.com, no apostrophe, just sheepdon'tbark.com. Send me an email at olga@sheepdon'tbark.com, and I will always respond.
All right, I love it.
Generosity.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Thank you so much. It was awesome talking to you.
Well, thank you for your generosity to have me on your show, to bring me in so beautifully. These things always make me a little nervous, but you guys definitely set me at ease. I feel very comfortable, and you two are